Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to do the first of a series of episodes on what I have in my own personal kit. Most of the time when I'm here in this space, I'm reviewing a camera or lens or an accessory that belongs to someone else. And a number of you have asked about what I have in my own personal kit. And so I'm going to start a series of videos in which I'm going to take a look at the various items that I have in my own kit and why they're there. If you didn't catch it, a few weeks ago I did post a video on what I added to my own personal kit in this year, 2015. And if you haven't already, I'd encourage you to take a look at that video here. And so I'm going to start and kind of work my way up here today. As you can see, I have got 5 different camera bodies. And today's episode is going to focus on the actual camera bodies that I use. And starting with the tiniest, which is a GoPro Hero 4. I purchased the silver mostly because the black edition, its biggest upgrade is adding some more modes in 4K. And in my thinking at the time is that at the moment I don't have any device that displays 4K. And secondly, by the time that I might have such a device in the future, there's a good chance that this is going to be replaced by a newer and better model anyway. And so for the meantime, I have the GoPro Hero 4 Silver, and we use it for, you know, it's a great little sports camera. And so I've used it, you might have seen my use in some aerial photography with a DJI Phantom 2 drone, and then also for some sports activity, underwater stuff. It does things that my other cameras don't do. And so I try to have things in my kit that do something unique that something else in my kit doesn't do. And so that's the GoPro Hero 4. This year I also replaced the EOS M, which I'm filming this episode on, with the M3. And the M3 has a number of upgrades, and you can see my review of this camera body here and see why I elected to add it to my own kit. But just to sum up, I enjoy having a small mirrorless body, often as a second option. For example, if I'm going out with a wide-angle kit on the full-frame body, I like to take this along with a compact telephoto lens to give me some options, or vice versa. If I'm going out with a big telephoto, sometimes I'll go out with this with a wide-angle lens mounted on it. And so in a compact way, it gives me options. Also, sometimes when I'm traveling and I don't want to carry a heavy kit, I still get great image quality out of this. I also bought it in a kit with the EVF viewfinder, and in this case it is a removable, but it does give me also some flexibility with telephoto glass, and also it's fantastic when I'm shooting with manual focus lenses, which I do a fair bit of. I also own just one regular crop sensor DSLR, and this is a Canon 70D. I elected to get the 70D because I know from having owned the 60D that I'm really partial to having the articulating LCD screen. It's just a very handy thing, and I'm always surprised when people are kind of against having a screen like this, because particularly these articulating screens, they're just extremely useful in getting down into difficult shooting positions or up high. And of course also this has a touch screen, and it has the dual pixel AF that gives me some extra options when shooting in live view, also when shooting video. And so I wanted to add a good APS-C camera, crop sensor camera, also for reviewing crop sensor specific lenses on. The 70D for me was the best balance of features, burst rate. It does 7 frames per second and has a very effective AF system. But also, relative to price, considering I don't really shoot crop sensor all that often. I will occasionally throw some of my longer glass, my 100 to 400L Mark II lens on here, just to give me a little bit extra reach without having to crop in post. And so anyway, it's a great camera for what it does, and has a good weather sealed body, has a good grip on it, which fits my hand nicely, and of course that articulating screen. So I've been very happy with it. Finally, I have a pair of Canon 6D full-frame bodies. These have been my workhorses for the last 3 years or so, and I have used them in all kinds of settings. These cameras have paid for themselves many, many times over. And if you're interested in my thought process on why I own a couple of these instead of a 5D Mark III. I wrote an article that's been one of my most popular and probably controversial articles ever on my website that I'll throw a link to down below on why I chose the 6D over the 5D Mark III. But suffice it to say, I found these to be extremely competent cameras that have served me well in countries around the world. I've never had any issue with them at all. They've held up very well. They've been tough. They've been durable. I've used them in literally all kinds of weather highly successfully. I like their Wi-Fi capability, which I've used a fair bit, and I recently wrote about a great app for unleashing the potential of the Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi-enabled Canon bodies, which, by the way, all of these actually are. And that app is called Cascable, and you can find also a link to that down below on the article and review I wrote on that. But I just want to highlight a couple of things about that. Some people might wonder, why have two of the same body? I shoot a lot of events, be they weddings, portrait sessions, but I'm also a pastor, and I have a position where I shoot basically all the religious events for the organization I'm a part of, the United Pentecostal Church here in the province of Ontario. And so as a result, I often will be carrying two different camera bodies. Rather than trying to switch lenses, I'll often be carrying one with a 24-70 f2.8 zoom mounted and one with a 70-200 f2.8 zoom mounted. And I'll carry them in a harness system. And that way I can get basically any shot that I want on the fly without changing bodies. I like having two of the exact same body. I actually replaced a 5D Mark II with one of these because I was shooting with the 5D Mark II and a 6D side by side, but I like the 6D better overall, and I like the fact that it doesn't matter which one that I'm grabbing, the setup is identical, and as a result there's no kind of wasting time or losing an important shot looking for a button or a switch that I need to change. And so I like actually having kind of the backup concept where I'm using two identical bodies. I do have them set up slightly different, however. And that reflects the fact that I do shoot with a fair bit and review a fair bit of manual focus glass. And so on one of these, and I have it actually kind of marked, and so I know which is which because I added an extra window, LCD window protector to the back of one of them. And so it stands out a little bit and lets me immediately know which is which. But on one of these, this one, I have an EGS focus screen installed, which shows true depth of field. It's not so great when you're using variable aperture lenses that are slower because the viewfinder darkens down. But when I'm using bright glass or manual focus glass, I tend to prefer this body, and then I use this body more with telephoto lenses that might not be as bright. And so I had them set up for that, and the EGS focus screen makes manual focus really quite a joy by comparison to the standard focus screen. If you ever want to swap that out in one of your bodies, the focus screen is not expensive. I think it's around $35. Again, I'll throw a link down below to that. And literally, the first time I did it, it took me 2 minutes to swap out, and so it's not a complicated procedure at all. It's another advantage of the 6D, however, in that the 5D Mark III does not allow for swapping out focus screens. And so if you're going to shoot Zeiss glass or Samyang Rokinon glass, you might consider using a 6D because it is a great body to use if you're, as far as Canons go, with using it with manual focus glass. And so these are the camera lenses that I have currently in my kit. In 2016, my plan is to replace one of the 6Ds with the new 5DS or 5DS-R. I haven't decided which at the moment, but I've decided because of increasingly higher resolving lenses, I wanted to have at least one very high resolution sensor that allows me to fully kind of put those lenses to the test. And so that's kind of my main plan to add in 2016. And so there you have it. These are the camera bodies that I use, and hopefully that'll give you an idea of why they're in my kit. I'm Dustin Abbott. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Have a great day.